Chapter 3. I know that many powerful people of my country consider that every correct police officer of our country must indispensably profess the nationalist ideology. And I also know that the indefinable ideology is opposed to the great internationalisms as the Marxism, the Masonry, the Zionism, the multinational corporations, etc., and even the foreign policy of imperialist powers. In the nationalist ideology, it is a common belief that all those vast organizations converge in one summit of power, situated in some place of the world, real secret government which they call International Synarchy. The Synarchy would have developed a strategy which execution will aim to the establishment of a world government that would reign over all the nations of the earth. The differences and contradictions that are adverted amongst all of the aforementioned great organizations would be of tactical order and purely exterior. In the apex of power, all of them would agree, and the general efforts would be aimed to the accomplishment of the synarchic strategy. In the nationalist ideology, it is a dogma since a century that the synarchy has been founded by the Jews with the pretension to assure the control over the world to give fulfillment to the prophecies in the Bible and the commandments of the Talmud. For this reason, the nationalists that have these ideas usually ardently hate Jews. I wasn't surprised then about the anti-Jewish exclamation of Officer Maidana, but having in mind that it was a hasty impression, I tried to make him comprehend that to attribute a Jewish origin to the homicidal rope, just because the medals had the form of a Star of David, was at least adventurous. Indeed, such symbol is also used by other religions or sects as the Masonry, Theosophy, the Rosicrucian, Christian churches, etc. Also, I told him, were the pomegranate and the clover constituting a strange combination? And the indecipherable inscriptions, and the lace of dyed hair? No. It would not be so easy to qualify the set. Even though it seemed incredible, something was missing in the cell of Belicena Villca, the briefcase with all her writings. When the police knew about the content of it, and after considering it as absolutely worthless, discounted immediately a possible entailment to the cause of the crime. Before, they tried to persuade us that the briefcase could have ended in the hospital incinerator, either by accident or due to a reprisal of an annoyed nurse produced by the excessive zeal of the care of the patient. Chapter 4. It was well known about Belicena Villca in the hospital. She came in December of 1978 in an ambulance of the army. 2 husky non-commissioned officers accompanied her to the office of the director and gave to him a letter of the foreman of the 230 Cavalry Regiment from Salta, Colonel Mario Perez, with a packet containing documentation and a medical record. In the letter, Dr. Cortez informed us later that the colonel requested to sign in Belicena Villca as a patient of the hospital, who suffered from a mental disease properly proven by the military physicians who signed the attached studies. The woman, native from the province of Tucumán, had only one son who disappeared during the Great Repression of 1977. Ignoring where he is, and apparently due to the certainty that the authorities refused her any information, she started to move resolutely through many provinces of the Argentinian north. And even she left the country, traveling through the interior of Bolivia and Peru. That behavior resulted suspicious to the intelligence agencies, who submitted her to an intense surveillance and finally arrested her. It was during the hard interrogations, when it was considered the possibility that Belicena Villca was mentally unbalanced, and because of this, after consulting the military physicians, was disposed her transference to the neuropsychiatric hospital, Dr. Javier Patron Isla. In regard to her son, the army knew nothing with respect to his location. Neither if he militated in a subversive organization, his disappearance warned the authorities due to what was thought that he passed to clandestinity. This idea was stated when the surprising activity of her mother was known, reason that finally motivated her detention. The precedent information provided by the colonel was not given credit to the stories or the claims that the patient could make. According to Dr. Cortez, the tone of the letter admitted no response, was almost an order to intern Belicena Villca. In his criterion had to be considered 2 possibilities. The woman went mad during the interrogations, or the story proposed by the army was real. What had to be totally discarded was a third variant, that she knew something about the subversion. In that case, she would have been executed. They were difficult times. Argentina military occupied in 1976 was resisting a tremendous repression that began with the extermination of the famous nihilistic partisans, such the official qualification, and ended with a bloodbath worthy of Caligula, where fell people of every class. The dead and the missing persons counted thousands, and in such dangerous atmosphere it was not good for the health to discuss the military directives. "Then will come better times," said us Dr. Cortez. "Remember that the soldiers are reigned by the laws of the strategy." And with his natural erudition, he quoted Machiavelli, genius of the strategy, where in his work, The Prince, says, "The usurper state should make haste to inflict what injuries he must, at a stroke that he may not have to renew them daily, but be enabled by their discontinuance to reassure men's minds, and afterwards win them over by benefits. Therefore, injuries should be inflicted all at once, that their ill savour be less lasting, may the less offend, whereas benefits should be conferred little by little, that so they may be more relished." That was, for Dr. Cortez, the philosophy of the government. I remember as though it were today, when I accompanied Belicena Villca to the B Pavilion, impressed by her colt treatment and simple elegancy. Without being really tall, she seemed to be, her small body butt up straight, the black hair smooth, of soft filaments falling down to her waist. Her slightly torn eyes were green and the nose a little prominent, gave an effect of firmness in her visage, framing in an almost perfect oval. Her mouth, proportionated, was of beefy lips, her eyebrows thick and straight over the eyes. All in her emanated a vital air that in no way revealed an age of 47 years. And even if the rigors of the past left an emaciated mark, was divined that in her youth she was an extraordinarily beautiful woman. The studies realized in the hospital confirmed that Belicena suffered from some type of schizophrenia. Therefore, Dr. Cortez, not very sensitive to the aesthetics considerations, decided to maintain the diagnostic of the military physicians: irreversible senile dementia, even if such valuation was totally unfair. When I was walking through the corridors of the B Pavilion, I received the first of countless surprises that the treat with Belicena and her strange story would give me. Reading the label of the plastic material with my name attached to the pocket of the jacket, she said, "Dr. Arturo Signagel. You have a magic name, bearer of the victorious claw. Did you know?" "Yes, I guess," I replied, while I was mentally translating Arturo from the Greek arctos, means bear, Sig means victory in German, and Nagel, claw, in the same language. "What surprises me," I added, "is that you know it. Do you understand Greek and German?" "Oh, that is not necessary, doctor. I see with the blood. I know what I always knew," said me with a candid smile. She is really crazy, I foolishly thought, believing that she alluded to the theory of reincarnation as the spiritualists, permanent patients of our pavilions. In that time, I could not imagine, neither remotely, that some day I would make unused effort to remember each one of her words to analyze with great respect. Chapter 5. Must not surprise that the police stored the case a little after they began the investigation, because, after every step they made to clarify it, all turned more confused. Being unjustifiable to give such effort in a crime which seemed that nobody was interested to resolve. In first place, because Belicena Villca had no known family to claim for justice, but mainly due to the mystery that surrounded the case. How entered the killer in the hermetically closed cell? Why he used a valuable bejeweled rope to kill a defenseless alienated? And the most incomprehensible, what could be the reason of the crime? The motive that could make intelligible what happened? There was no answer to these or other questions that then appeared, and as time passed by, without any advance, the case was prudently closed by the police. 2 months later, no one was talking about the crime in the neuropsychiatric hospital, were fewer those who remembered the unfortunate Belicena Villca. The daily routine, the fatiguing work, the quotidian and inevitable problems all contribute to make that the mundane man, submerged in the becoming of his destiny, becomes impermeable to the pain of others, or to those phenomenons that not affect his concrete reality. I am not the exception to the rule, and, concerning in what treats about is narrated here, I would surely have forgotten the horrible crime harassed by the obligations of my medical residence, the attention of the consulting room, or the classes of the American anthropology that I follow as a post-grade tertiary course. I said I'd have forgotten, because the story of Belicena Villca suddenly invaded my own world, deranging everything, consuming me up to the edge of the dimensional abyss in which she succumbed. As I said, the police lost the interest promptly in the crime. Then the declarations of rigor taken on the subsequent days not disturbed us any more, and life returned to its normal course. To the corpse of Belicena Villca was practiced an autopsy, which only served to confirm what we already supposed. The death was caused by strangulation with a white rope. As she had no known relatives, a telegram was sent to her unique visitor, a Chacuanco, Indians from north of Argentina, apparently located in the province of Tucumán. But with the pass of time, without any visit of him, they proceeded to bury the rests in a local cemetery. In those days, middle of January, the northern midsummer, my only preoccupation consisted in to prepare the annual leave which started the day 20 and were extended to the end of February. Undoubtedly, I would have some time to do excursions and to prepare the matter that I'd render in March. At that time, in a visit that I made to the anthropology faculty of Salta to enroll me in a final test, I met with the prestigious Professor Pablo Ramirez, Doctor of Philology, who I knew because I assisted to some of his Amerindian language classes. When I saw him, I impromptu thought to ask him something. "Good morning, Dr. Ramirez. If it not bothers you to lose just one moment, I'd like to ask you something." "Good morning, Dr. Arturo Signagal," replied while he was leaning his hairless head. "Look, Dr. Ramirez, a few days ago a patient died in the neuropsychiatric hospital where I am a medic. And after she died, she pronounced a word in Quechua, something like Pacha Chut Kui. I translate Pacha, world, Chut Kui, dismember. That's to say, dismember the world. As this has no sense, I'd like you to tell me if there's some other acceptation for this word." I was trying not to give any information relating the strange death. Professor Ramirez heard my translation with visible displeasure. "Whence was Nadal your patient?" "From the province of Tucumán. It seems that she always lived in the Calchaquis valleys, even if she lately had traveled to the north, including Peru and Bolivia. But from those journeys I don't know anything because she never accepted to comment them." "Well," impatiently said Dr. Ramirez, "as you know, Quechua has many dialects, but according to the affiliation that you gave me, I suggest you to consider this. Even if Pacha is the world, or the earth, as Pachamama, Mother Earth, in Quechua Santiguino, Pacha also means time. In this dialect, Chutcui is the transitive verb dislocate, so the world would mean to dislocate time, or dislocation of time, in a more actual sense." I must confess that an alarm feeling invaded me while I was hearing the old professor, because something interior, a secret instinct, was telling me, screaming that if there could be an explanation to the murder of Belicena Villca, this was beyond any normal comprehension, and an ambit that would surely reign ignored laws for men. What was this time dislocation but an obscure concept, incomprehensible, which resists to the reason but keeps an evident nexus with the murder? How can be understood? If it is not accepted the intervention of the unknown, the fact that someone or something can enter into a locked cell, commit a murder, and go serenely, leaving behind the mortal rope, or in other words, the proof of the inexplicable presence. Yes, there was a calculated negligence in all of this, as if the assassin wanted to give a minimum proof of his terrible and immense power in a flaunt of demential pride. Visibly disturbed, I said goodbye to Professor Ramirez and I returned on my steps. While a certainty was affirming more and more in my mind, Belicena Villca knew that a mortal danger was stalking her when screamed, "Pachachut kui, Pachachut kui."